Hello, TTI family. Today we're heading deep into the forest to watch Roman build an incredible tiny treehouse completely from scratch. And honestly, after seeing this level of effort, climbing into bed at night suddenly feels like a major construction achievement. Roman begins the project in the most practical way possible, by building a sturdy ladder from raw logs. Since the treehouse will sit nearly 3 meters above the ground, safe access becomes the very first priority. And let's be honest, carrying tools through a forest without a ladder would basically turn every trip into an accidental survival challenge. With access secured, Roman moves on to the foundation and platform system. Using thick forest logs, he carefully positions support beams between the surrounding trees to create a strong and level base. The forest floor is uneven and unpredictable, but his setup cleverly works around the terrain instead of fighting against it. What makes this impressive is how naturally the entire structure blends into the environment. Rather than clearing large areas, Roman uses the strength of the trees and the durability of the logs to support the build. It's simple, efficient, and surprisingly smart engineering hidden inside what looks like a peaceful woodland retreat. Next comes the framework of the treehouse itself. Roman assembles a skeleton using logs and wooden boards, forming the walls, floor supports, and roof structure. The elevated frame protects the living space from ground moisture, while also making the cabin feel like a real hideaway floating among the trees. The structural design is especially fascinating. Vertical posts carry the weight downward, while horizontal beams lock everything together. Roman's approach leans heavily on traditional craftsmanship. Throughout the build, he relies on classic construction methods, like hand-cut joinery, diagonal bracing, and carefully sealed timber connections. These old-world techniques give the structure a handmade character that modern prefabricated buildings often lack. At the same time, he combines these methods with smart engineering choices involving weight distribution, insulation, and weather protection. To keep the frame from wobbling or twisting, Roman adds diagonal cross-bracing boards throughout the structure. These braces act like the unsung heroes of the project. Without them, the whole frame could slowly shift out of shape like a tired shopping cart with one broken wheel. By reinforcing the structure diagonally, Roman distributes side pressure more effectively, helping the treehouse remain stable against movement, wind, and shifting loads. It's a smart technique often used in larger buildings, proving that even a tiny forest cabin deserves proper engineering. Once the frame is secure, Roman starts enclosing the walls with carefully fitted wooden planks. Working section by section, he overlaps the boards to block wind and rain while creating a clean, rustic appearance. Window openings are also built directly into the wall layout, bringing natural light into the compact interior. Every edge is adjusted with patience and precision. Using hand tools, Roman trims away small irregularities so each piece fits tightly against the next. The level of detail here is honestly impressive. Most people struggle to hang a picture frame straight, while Roman is out here hand-shaping a forest apartment in the trees, like it's completely normal behavior. Finally, Roman shifts his focus upward and begins constructing the roof. He installs angled rafters to create a pitched design that allows rainwater to slide off naturally. Over the rafters, he secures a protective covering that shields the structure from moisture. By extending the roof slightly beyond the walls, he creates overhangs that help keep the cabin dry during bad weather. Once the exterior shell is completed, Roman shifts his attention to insulation, because surviving in a forest treehouse during cold nights requires more than optimism and a nice view. From inside the structure, he carefully installs the first insulation layer beneath the roof. Each section is precisely cut to fit snugly between the rafters, eliminating gaps where cold air or moisture could sneak in. By this stage, the treehouse has grown so tall that Roman actually needs to rebuild his ladder. The original one worked perfectly during the early construction phase, but as the cabin rises higher into the trees, the shorter ladder simply can't keep up anymore. It's basically the construction version of outgrowing your childhood bicycle. With the roof protected and insulated from the outside, Roman begins refining the interior to make the space warm and livable. He methodically adds more insulation along the walls and ceiling, focusing on sealing every possible draft point. The careful placement of insulation panels not only improves comfort, but also helps the small cabin retain heat efficiently during colder weather. Next comes one of the most satisfying transformations of the build, the interior wood paneling. Roman installs wooden boards across the insulated walls and ceiling, instantly turning the unfinished frame into a cozy woodland shelter. These boards do more than just look beautiful. They also provide an extra protective layer over the insulation beneath. As always, Roman works with remarkable precision. Every board is aligned carefully, joints are kept tight, and transitions between panels are smooth and clean. Watching him work is honestly enough to make most people question why their own kitchen shelf still leans slightly to one side after 3 repair attempts. Despite the tiny footprint of the treehouse, Roman also begins organizing the interior into functional spaces. Door frames, window openings, and trim details are integrated directly into the wall structure, making the compact cabin feel surprisingly practical and well-planned. But comfort in the forest depends heavily on warmth, so Roman soon tackles one of the most important additions, the stove. Installing a stove inside a wooden treehouse requires serious attention to safety. To protect the surrounding walls from heat damage, he installs metal sheeting and aluminum-coated insulation panels behind the stove area. He then adds a metal chimney pipe that safely vents smoke and gases outside the structure. By combining reflective heat barriers with a tightly sealed stovepipe system, Roman creates a heating solution that is both efficient and safe. The result is a treehouse capable of staying warm even during freezing forest nights. As the interior nears completion, Roman focuses on another critical feature, the door. Since the entire cabin sits 3 meters above the ground, the door needs to be strong, reliable, and built to withstand constant exposure to outdoor conditions. Before beginning, Roman wisely builds himself a sturdy workbench. This simple addition gives him a stable surface for measurements, cutting, and assembly, while also keeping tools organized. With everything prepared, he carefully measures the doorway and lays out the design using matching wooden boards. To build the door frame, Roman uses strong mortise and tenon joints, reinforced with secure fastenings. It's a level of craftsmanship that turns an ordinary cabin door into something that feels handmade in the best possible way. Sturdy, practical, and built with genuine care. Once the door frame is finished, Roman begins attaching additional wooden panels to create the outer surface of the door itself. Each board is carefully aligned to maintain the cabin's rugged, natural appearance. He secures every panel firmly, smoothing the edges and tightening the joints, so the finished door looks clean, solid, and handcrafted, rather than rushed together in a panic 5 minutes before sunset. Roman also installs handles, and later plans to include a small window in the door design. This addition not only improves visibility and lets more natural light into the cabin, but also perfectly matches the cozy, woodland style of the entire build. At this point, the door becomes far more than just an entrance. It turns into one of the defining visual features of the treehouse: sturdy, rustic, and built with the same level of care as the rest of the structure. Roman even incorporates the traditional Japanese shosugiban wood finishing technique, giving parts of the wood added durability while deepening the rich, natural textures of the cabin. Inside the treehouse, Roman continues refining the ceiling by installing additional timber boards over the insulated surfaces, preserving the warm, organic feeling that makes the cabin blend so naturally into the forest surroundings. Along the walls, he reinforces corners, seams, and transitions, using extra trim boards and fitted wooden pieces. These additions help seal tiny gaps where drafts or moisture could enter, while also giving the interior a polished, handmade appearance. As work continues around the entrance, Roman selects several thin, straight logs and cuts them into matching lengths. After cleaning off rough sections and protruding branches, he arranges them neatly into place to form additional steps and decorative features around the platform. Near the doorway, he also installs vertical log sections that function as a partial safety barrier. These closely spaced logs create a textured, natural facade that perfectly complements the rough timber walls of the cabin, while adding extra protection around the elevated entrance. Inside, Roman strengthens the lower section of the door by attaching short log pieces along the interior surface. These additions may help with insulation, but they also continue the consistent, log-based aesthetic throughout the build. By matching the interior woodwork with the exterior platform and entrance, he creates a seamless transition between indoors and outdoors. By now, the treehouse clearly represents more than just a simple shelter. It reflects a deep connection between traditional craftsmanship and sustainable building practices. Built from locally sourced timber and shaped with time-tested techniques, the cabin feels both practical and timeless. Even the final ladder becomes part of this philosophy. Rather than serving as a basic access point, it acts as another carefully crafted architectural element. Built with sturdy joinery and left with its natural textures intact, the ladder perfectly complements the exposed timber frame, moss-covered roof, and warm, handcrafted interior, completing a treehouse that feels less like a project and more like a hidden forest sanctuary. What makes Roman's project so captivating is the philosophy behind it. Instead of hiding the imperfections of the wood, he embraces them completely. Every knot, grain pattern, crack, and weathered texture becomes part of the treehouse's identity. Nothing feels overly polished or artificial. The cabin looks alive, as if it naturally grew from the forest itself, rather than being dropped into it. The result is a treehouse that feels both ancient and practical, sturdy enough to survive harsh forest conditions while still maintaining its rustic soul. Honestly, it's the kind of place that makes people suddenly want to quit city life and start dramatically chopping wood for no reason. Safety also becomes a major focus as Roman completes the elevated access points. He installs sturdy railings alongside the ladder and entrance platform, creating secure handholds and barriers around the treehouse. Since the cabin sits high above the forest floor, these reinforcements are essential for stability and daily use. But the railings are not purely functional. Built from the same natural timber as the rest of the cabin, they blend perfectly into the overall design. Their rough, organic appearance helps preserve the handcrafted woodland aesthetic, instead of interrupting it with industrial-looking materials. Around the entrance, Roman adds extra structural reinforcement, including a durable timber threshold that strengthens this high-traffic area. Once the Shosugi-ban wood treatment is finished, he applies natural sealants across the exposed timber surfaces. These sealants fill tiny cracks and pores in the wood, creating a protective barrier against moisture, while still allowing the timber to breathe naturally. He then secures the finished railings firmly into the floor and walls using large fasteners, ensuring every connection feels solid and dependable. Inside the cabin, treated wooden flooring adds both durability and warmth. The design remains intentionally simple, free from unnecessary decoration, yet every detail contributes to comfort and practicality. And of course, Roman hasn't forgotten one very important resident of the forest retreat: his dog. To give his loyal companion a proper shelter, Roman begins building a matching doghouse, using the same natural materials and techniques found in the main treehouse. He starts with a compact log platform foundation, before assembling a sturdy frame using vertical posts and horizontal beams. Wooden planks are attached to create enclosed walls, while moss is carefully packed into small roof and wall gaps for natural insulation. This clever use of moss helps regulate temperature inside the shelter, keeping it warmer during cold nights and cooler during warmer weather. The roof is designed with a slight slope to allow rainwater to run off efficiently, preventing moisture buildup. Roman then covers parts of the roof with thick, natural moss, giving the doghouse an appearance that blends seamlessly into the surrounding forest. At this point, Even the dog is basically living in a handcrafted eco-resort, while most people are still arguing with instruction manuals trying to assemble flat-pack furniture correctly. From the very beginning, every step reflects patience and skill. Whether constructing a stable log platform, extending the ladder for safer access, or carefully shaping each wooden detail, Roman approaches the project with remarkable dedication. Nothing feels rushed or artificial. Instead, the cabin proudly showcases raw timber in its most honest form, complete with natural textures, knots, and imperfections. Inside, the design remains simple and uncluttered. Natural light filters through the windows, highlighting the warm wooden surfaces and creating a calm, peaceful atmosphere. It's the kind of place where you instantly feel relaxed, or suddenly start considering whether living in the forest with no Wi-Fi might actually fix your stress levels. The soft green moss covering the roof blends beautifully with the rich wooden textures, making the entire treehouse feel like a natural extension of the forest itself. More than decoration, the moss symbolizes the sustainable spirit behind Roman's project, a build shaped by respect for nature and traditional craftsmanship. What makes this treehouse truly special is how thoughtfully every element works together. Safety, comfort, functionality, and sustainability are all balanced without sacrificing the rustic charm of the build. The result is more than just a shelter hidden among the trees. It becomes a lifestyle centered around simplicity, self-sufficiency, and connection with the natural world. In the end, Roman's treehouse stands as a beautiful reminder that comfort does not always come from modern luxury. Sometimes it comes from craftsmanship, patience, and a quiet cabin surrounded by trees.